Later, there's like a 3-minute video of me waiting for it to say it's on. Oh.
Testing.
It says be patient. Oh, all right. We're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right. Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Got a C lease for Candy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Starting with old business, item number 1, show cause hearing, order to cease violation for 183 King Road.
Okay, so I've been, checking in, looking for updates. Last update we had, the site and the piles looked pretty well stabilized, but not fully there. And I just heard back Monday that supposedly the site is fully stabilized, but we weren't able to schedule a site visit ahead of this meeting. So hopefully before the next meeting, we can resolve that and close it out. That's really all we were waiting on at this point. But
Okay, so we'll continue.
yeah, just a fixture on our agenda.
I was thinking about this, and we have 2 cease and desist orders here. The other one's obviously much more recent, but I feel like in general, like in practice, like we should try to close them out sooner rather than later.
Right.
So I don't know. This one we're kind of at the mercy of, the property owner, but I don't know what the alternative is. It's more of like a scheduling issue at this point, right?
Right, and it's like we theoretically could have closed it out, but then it would have been a little messier trying to have the follow through and make sure it was done. So this way, at least he's still on the hook and on the agenda, at least. But yeah, hopefully before the next meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been a while.
All right. Everybody good with that one? So item number 2 is show cause hearing, order to cease violation for 122 Watchog Road.
Okay, so they were unable to attend today, but I do have some updates and photos. So pretty much immediately following the meeting on June 6th, I received an update and photos. They had cleared as much of that culvert as they could, and also, applied more seed and straw to the swale. So I'll send around, there's 3 photos dated 6/6, and then yesterday, July 1st, I received a new set of photos showing quite a bit of progress stabilizing the swale. So here's the older ones from almost a month ago. There's one on the back of that.
They put all those rocks in?
I think those rocks were there.
Oh.
They were just more buried, I think. There was more sediment. And then these are the ones from July 1st. And I think there's 5 photos overall. There's 2 on the back of that first page too. So it's looking a lot better. I want to do, go back over and look at it again at some point, but I don't know if anyone has any thoughts, observations, if it's one that we feel is sufficiently addressed to close out, or if we have any reason not
the
to.
old one.
Yeah.
So this is old and that's new?
Yes. I think it looks strange, but I was thinking it was just grass growing up next to the rock, maybe a little more zoomed in.
Yeah, it looks more zoomed in.
I think it's
Or
just
the other end. No.
But it looks like the rocks are more covered in sediment, no?
I couldn't really tell, but maybe.
Or if it's the angle
Yeah.
coming down. Yeah,
Or
I
it's
don't
the
know.
angle.
It's hard to tell,
With
too.
our
I know,
house here.
yeah, I wasn't
compare,
sure.
yeah.
Because at the last meeting,
Was that the new
Yeah,
one? there?
I know somebody that drives by there quite a bit, and I mean, it does look like it, everything took really well. The seed that they put down, all the hay bales are still there, the stone check dams and stuff. So, I mean, I don't know if you want to take a final peek at it. I mean, I kind of feel like as long as it's not disturbed any further, like it's as good as it's going to get in terms of being stabilized.
Yeah, I think they've basically met what the original order was really to stop work except for stabilization, which they were really done with the work anyway, and they worked to stabilize. And then at the last meeting, we
I think they're doing
amended the order to include removal of sediment from that culvert. So it does seem as though they've satisfied what we asked for. There's some areas where maybe it's not as filled in, but overall it's pretty well vegetated. And the straw bale check dams are still in place, and the stone check dams. So I think kind of that immediate.
The
risk.
straw is staying, I'm assuming?
I would think they'd just leave it till it deteriorates.
Okay.
I could check in with them and just confirm.
Are we going to leave this one alone? Or are we satisfied?
I think I'd leave it up to you if you feel satisfied by what you've seen out there, or
It looks good to me.
yeah. I know, I'm impressed how much it filled in
Yeah.
a month.
Yeah.
I should ask what seed mix they used.
I know. Wish my
When you
mom
follow
looked at
up about the straw.
Right? We had some crazy weather in there, some really hot days.
I
And
should have good fertilizer.
that's true.
So on the orders, what is the process to close them out? We just make
That's
a
true. We
motion?
haven't gotten that far before. The other one that's been on our agenda forever is really the first cease and desist or cease and correct that I've issued. So that's funny that we've had these two. But thinking back to our conversation with Carl, I think it was really just probably finding that, let's see, I'm trying to think if you would lift the order, but it's not like they should do more work on there, but
Close out.
yeah.
I mean, does it result in a document that you have to send them or anything? Or just like an email saying we've resolved this matter? Or?
You're now off our agenda?
Oh.
I don't know. No, it's a good question. Maybe I should bug Carl about it, just how to formally dissolve it. I'm trying to think if he had said at a prior meeting when we were discussing the other application, we had sort of discussed it at the time, but I'm a little fuzzy on it right now as we speak about this. Let's see.
That's something you can just follow up and email us about, and it's like, we have agreed to close it out.
Right. I would think something like finding that the violation has been resolved and the order is, and the
Revoked.
or rescinded, or he wants me to restart. Not now.
Just says it, you could say if it continues, fine, it'll be fine,
We can
If it's
reissue.
going like that, We're doing the same right along.
Yeah. I should have checked with him about that. But let's see.
because that was issued by you, right? So
Right.
can we direct you to revoke it?
I think so. Just trying to think what the language would be, but
I mean, I feel like it's more of a, marketing and compliance, because we told them to stop the disturbance essentially and to stabilize the area, which is essentially what's happened.
Yeah.
So at this
Yeah.
point, we're determining whether, the area is stabilized and there's no longer a violation, which is, I think,
Yeah.
where we're at, right?
yeah, maybe just finding that order and violation have been resolved,
Yeah.
and then I could follow up with Carl if I should issue a formal letter or anything, but otherwise maybe the minutes would suffice, just to document that, and I can
Yeah.
stick the minutes in the file. But yeah, I think maybe to not have it stay on the agenda if you feel you're satisfied. Maybe it's best to at least
It says
attempt.
you need to
Oh.
formally
Thank you.
send a letter to the recipient.
Okay.
I mean, if I was the recipient of an order, I would want
You would
something.
want a letter
formally.
saying it was done. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Google.
Can't beat it.
Now, was it Google or was it AI?
AI, for sure.
You just became a member of the Conservation Commission now. Thank you for that.
Yeah, didn't you remember?
Yeah, there's a few F's.
There
There we go.
Well, if I'm on that side, is this going to go easier?
You would have to recuse
You
yourself.
have to recuse yourself.
Yeah.
All right, so do we want to then make a motion on this so we can decide one way or the other? We want to close it out, leave it open?
I'll make a motion that we revoke the cease violation of 122 Watog Road.
I'll second that.
Any other?
Yeah, maybe finding that it's that the violation has been resolved.
Yeah, the violation,
Yeah.
and we're satisfied with the results.
We have so much language we have to do for a regular motion.
I
feel like
know.
It needs more than that, but
And if not, we
I'll
can,
spice it up.
and I could check after with Carl if it needs any more
Okay.
okay.
resolving afterwards. But
All right, based on that, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Nobody? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to application number 81742, Dillonback Road, grading installation of a septic system in the upland review area and associated construction of new home and barn.
I'm realizing now I failed to print photos that I took out there yesterday. But let's see, we do have hot off the press this afternoon. I received a report from the soil scientist. So I printed copies to hand out. Get rid of all this electronic stuff. And give you a second to look at that. And I'll put the plans out. Okay, there's just 4 of you. I can but basically, it's from Rick Zulik, the soil scientist who delineated the site. He went out in November. The pond dredging was in progress, and at the time, it's now completed, I should say. But as of the date of this report, it was in progress. But he did delineate. He characterizes the different soil types on site. Let's see. And then his conclusion, an on-site septic system is proposed southeast of the proposed home. The system consists of leaching chambers to be installed just into existing grade and surrounded by approved septic sand. The system meets the public health code and exceeds the separation distance required from the wetland area. That's according to the public health code. In terms of my general opinion as both a soil scientist and a registered sanitarian, I feel that with adequate erosion control devices in place, the proposed activity will not have a significant negative impact to the values and functions of this wetland and watercourse area. We also did get, as one of her final acts in person here, a review from the sanitarian. And she approved the design. She just had one provision that the engineer provide benchmark prior to construction. What else do we have? Let me put the plans up so you can see them again. It's the same plan as last time that we looked at. The only real thing we talked about last time was maybe planting something other than grass behind the house. So behind the pond. And so I had looked into it a little bit and communicated with the property owner, who is our peanut gallery, by the way. And there was a mix that was a restoration mix for wet sites that looked suitable. So I thought it might be, in terms of what area to seed with it, we kind of discussed that. I figured, while this plan shows that limit of disturbance, the silt fence just below the septic system, in reality, because the pond was being dredged and the spoils are currently up gradient, like between the pond and the proposed house site, that area is disturbed currently and there's silt fence in place already. But since that's all been disturbed based on our prior permit to dredge the pond, that area between the, where the silt fence is shown on the plan and the pond might be a good swath to plant a mix like the one I found, or something native vegetation that's not kept as manicured lawn. That's pretty much what we were going for last time.
What was your plan to do it there anyways? Just
See it, stabilize it.
And that the dredge materials are going to be spread on the site.
Yeah, correct. Once we build the house, we're gonna spread the topsoil, or whatever we excavated out of the pond was not like, it was just like the top 2 or 3 feet of mud. Yeah. Which seems to be pretty fertile, so should be able to grow.
Yeah, some of it was already growing vegetation in it. I don't think we really had other questions. We were kind of just pending the sanitarian's review and the seeding. But does anyone have questions?
When was the pond dredging
Approved?
Yeah, that was like recently or a while?
Yeah, it was last year.
July or
Okay.
September.
Yeah, towards the end of the year, I would say.
It was. So the application was the end of May. Let's see. There. It's kind of.
This time last year.
Let's see. Here's the forestry one. Some of these things might be in both. So yeah, the timber harvest. Oh, yeah, I'm a little confused. Okay, let me see. The timber harvest was approved as a jurisdictional ruling in September, so now I'm confused about. Let me double check what I had on that other paper.
I think it was approved the same meeting.
Oh, was it? I remember the timber harvest. I don't remember the dredging part for some reason.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have 3 files for the property, and I'm looking at, the first one I was looking at was the house. Then the forestry one was September, and then here's the pond dredging one. Okay, so the permit was approved September. So it was all at that same time. And they were being done pretty much simultaneously. They were able to keep a nice forested area below the pond that come up in the meetings about how much clearing would be done. So really, when you're out there, that area, and there's a slope behind the pond that's still forested.
Okay. Where did my agenda go?
Want me to make the motion?
Oh, here it is.
I was gonna say I have more
Would you say you had more information?
agendas. No, yeah.
No,
if
I
you
did
need
find it. Yeah. Somebody want to make a motion?
You have to read that big thing, right?
Yeah.
A motion to approve application 81742 Dillenbach Road, the grading and installation of septic system in the upland review area associated with construction of new home and barn, with the condition that restoration seed mix will be planted between the pond and septic. Is that?
Yeah, sort of, but I guess not just behind the septic, but basically that whole the. Did they actually leave out limit disturbance on there, or just silt fence? I'm trying to think of a way that we could
You're talking about
interpret
right
it later. Yeah. If that makes sense to everyone, I was just figuring that area probably.
It's essentially the area where the dredge spoils are deposited. Is
Right.
Where you're talking, right?
Yes. So yeah, that area between. So it's the silt fence shown on the plan, not really in reality, but the silt fence line depicted on the plan and the pond.
Okay, I'll second.
Based on the following. The Commission finds that the applicant has submitted all necessary application materials pursuant to Section 211-7 of the Wetlands Regulations, including but not limited to Section 211-7E5, alternatives considered and rejected. The Commission did not find the proposed activity significant, and the Commission finds that the criteria set forth in Section 211-10B have been met by the applicant.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries.
Do you have to close out that permit for the pond?
We don't formally close it out, but just more in my notes more
Okay.
than anything. But
I didn't know. If
fortunately,
it
you
was
didn't have a
building
cease and desist order.
permit. Yeah. Right. No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
It was like a building permit. You got to get like a final.
Right. I know it is a weird thing where we don't have like a firm process for that. When there's a building permit as part of a wetland application, then when they're looking for a CO.
And you'll be
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
We talked about I would continue to kind of inspect for both, and there's a few remaining things like spreading the spoils, and there's some like timber matting left from the forestry project that'll be removed for the stream crossing. So I'll check on those too.
Is the timber harvest done? Oh, nice.
Yep. Yeah, they were done. I don't know. Early spring, I believe.
Okay.
Because you're moving right along.
We're getting
When do you think
flower-
you'll have a
the flowers
house
look
up and all that?
What's that?
When you have the house and all that ready?
Oh, we're planning on starting in September.
September?
Unless I get too busy at work. I don't know.
Too many foundations to replace.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, have a good weekend. Did the timber harvest, so like the jurisdictional rulings,
The pond we did an actual permit for,
yeah,
but the timber harvest did a. Sorry.
that was a jurisdictional ruling, right?
The timber harvest was, let me double check, but I'm pretty sure the timber harvest was. But yeah, the pond we ended up determining needed a permit because it wasn't as clearly agricultural. They do have, a large flower garden there now. They're using the pond to water, but I think it was thought a bit of a stretch at the time. So let's see, Dredge Farm Pond. Yeah, so we ended up receiving it as a permit application at the August meeting, and The forestry application, though, it was at the August meeting that we found the forestry operation exempt, but then required the permit for the pond, and then in September we approved the permit for the pond. It was kind of like a
So exempt via a jurisdictional ruling.
right. Just
So
the
does
forestry.
that so there's no like time frame tied to that in terms of like
Yeah, they
if
don't expire.
Yeah.
And really there's no conditions or real like requirement for inspections either. It's
Yeah.
nice when they offer that, but there's not really, I don't have something saying like that, I need to re-inspect or close it out.
I mean, because it's kind of tied to the plan, like the harvest plan in some extent. So like if he wanted to come back in 5 years and do more timber harvest, like I would argue you'd have to come back for a new
Yeah.
ruling, but without like a beginning and an end, it's like hard to say.
Right, I
Yeah.
know, yeah. I mean, typically they're going to do it pretty much right away. So I'd say if like a couple years go by and they want to do something else, if it's a new project, they should come back.
Yeah.
I don't think it should just give them carte blanche to like
Right.
cut
Yeah.
whenever they want, but yeah, it's a little bit,
Vague.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, because the jurisdictional rulings don't expire. And if it was like farming and they're continuously farming, we wouldn't have them come back unless they're doing something different and new. But for forestry, it's like they do the job, they get out, and then
Yeah.
I think they should probably come back each time. But
All right, moving on to application 1875 Brittany Lane, vegetation removal and minor grading for home construction per prior subdivision approval.
I just had my brain just worked a little bit better. Something just triggered a thought on just going back to the last conversation for a
Dylan,
second.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, that they had come with the forestry application. We found it exempt. The original plan had a stream crossing. Then at the time of the meeting, they said they didn't need the stream crossing, and we found it exempt. But then they came back the next month saying, actually, we really do need the stream crossing because the dam isn't suitable to take all the heavy machinery over. So it ended up taking a little longer, and they came back. Anyway,
Gotcha.
like, oh yeah, that's what
You have a red car now?
sorry about that. All right, so
You have a
for
red car.
no one was available to attend tonight for the applicant, but I do have revised plans that I just emailed out yesterday. We had a little back and
Oh,
forth.
do you want to put these
Oh,
back in
yes,
the pile
before
for
I
Dylan back? Yeah.
lose them. Actually, I'm like already like, wait, do I have 3 of these?
I can't even look over there.
I know, it's like chaos. And then,
I'm
and then
afraid
next
I'm going
week
to
I go
disorder
through and
looking at it.
dig through it, and yeah, I guess these are okay. I just didn't think I had 3 of these, but anyway. Oh, I know why. The sanitarian gave me her copy when she gave me her review. Brittany, I just have 1 actually, but so last meeting we were looking at the prior subdivision plan, and in the meantime they were able to finalize a plan.
What's expired date?
The subdivision approval had expired.
Oh, okay.
So it had been previously approved as part of a subdivision, and they're basically following that same plan. This is just a little more refined. I don't have 4 of these, but so they were able to keep the limit of disturbance pretty much where it had been. Last month he showed you an older version of the subdivision plan that it didn't show this footing drain, but then going back in files they realized, oh wait, we need a footing drain, and it had actually been part of the prior approved plan of the subdivision. So we had a little back and forth, and trying to see if I have that one. No, this is the one he had given us last week. But so they ended up just putting that jog in the limit of disturbance to allow for installation of the footing drain, and but otherwise the footprint of the house is pretty similar to what had been proposed. originally, the septic is, just over that 50-foot requirement at that. Actually, let me see how far that is. I didn't measure it. I'm like, did it change? 40. It should be at least 50 feet, but that's the reserve. And then it actually looks like they're further than I thought. Yeah, because that's, at one point I thought we were talking about closer to 50 feet, but now, like, this is 100 feet. So the septic actually is just over 100 feet. The reserve area is just slightly within.
Oh, so it's okay.
Yeah, so it's really just, some grading and the footing drain in the upland review area. And this property already had, as part of the subdivision, had an open space easement, and that's the dashed line here.
Which is all of that.
Yeah, and it encompasses
Okay.
the whole wetland area, Watchog Brook. So the one thing I noted out there, so the easement doesn't seem to be marked, or at least not that I saw. The site's very overgrown currently, and full of invasives, which I'll get to. But so I wasn't sure if this is one where you might want to do the permanent wetland boundary markers. And then if you were to do that, would you just want them along the open space easement line? Technically, our markers say wetland boundary, do not disturb, but
Well, it's interesting that the 100-year flood zone line is up here. And the wetland boundary's on here, right?
yeah.
So.
And this was
and then-
reflagged. I should have mentioned that before too. This is like a fresh delineation, not the old delineation. So we have a new soil scientist.
And then the easement line kind of cuts in between the two. So,
Yeah.
do you know if that open space easement continues on abutting properties?
Yes.
This was all part of like the subdivision.
Yeah, and I don't think it's marked on the other properties. Here's that section from the subdivision plan, and this is again a little bit of an older version, but this is the lot here. And then this is one of the tighter. Let me see. That might not be true. Let's see. So on this one, so we've got the blue line. The wetland kind of meanders. So it gets a little closer on this lot in one spot, but then it kind of falls back. So it keeps kind of meandering that floodplain to Watchog Brook.
This is town drainage?
I believe so. It's very overgrown. But I believe it is a town easement.
So that outfall, if you want to call it that, is
Yeah.
below the 100-foot flood zone, right?
Oh, so that's interesting. So, yeah, and it was, I'm like wondering if, let's see, did that change at all between, I guess we can't see past our lot on this one, but let's see, does it, oh yeah, it is quite different, the 100-year flood, right? Because on here, the 100-year flood limit is back here, like right at the edge of the wetland. And so it might be the changes in the FEMA mapping that it's up further.
What does that mean, digitized from map 2A? 100-year flood line?
Oh, let's see. Map 2A. They should have a, they should have a note. Yeah, so there's a plan reference there. So 2A is the subdivision plan dated 2/1/1990. Now, is that this one or is that?
This is 219.
Oh, okay. So, So,
Where's the
so
number one? So maybe there's another plan?
this is the plan that they presented last month, but it wasn't actually the final plan. I don't think I have that final one with me. But yeah, there's interesting. So they're saying they digitized the flood, and that's separate from our. That's really a a zoning
Yeah.
issue, but yeah, it's a little bit, I'm a little confused by it. But, look, are my eyes playing tricks on it? Well, and the wetland line's slightly different because it was reflagged too, so it might be all these different things combined or confusing. But actually, it more or less follows. It's
Yeah.
pretty close. But then, yeah, and here the 100-year flood line follows here and kind of parallels the wetland line. So I don't know, I'm a little confused about how it's. So I could mention it just for clarity and not really pertain to this application, but for other purposes. So it's a little confusing.
And the conservation easement is vague, but says basically don't do any activities like clear cutting and riding your dirt bike and things like that. Like, I mean, what is it? Does it speak to wetlands at all, I guess?
I'd have to look up the deed. It should give specifications in there, but yeah, usually it's more about actual either construction or clearing, like site disturbance. But I'm not sure on this. I could look that up and see.
I mean, I'm just asking in the context of the delineation markers because,
Oh,
you know, it doesn't seem to make a ton of sense to put the boundary markers
right.
on the easement line if that's not wetlands.
Yeah, I know. It's tough. I mean, and then the other kind of pain of it is, you know, for their sake, if they're following this kind of wonky line, they're going to have to put so many markers, but maybe even, so I was thinking, oh, at least that's like a straight line, but they could do something else where, you know, they could have the option if they want to follow this line,
Yeah.
they can, or if they want to kind of, you know, cut it here. Yeah, like if they'd rather just have a straight line somewhere. It doesn't have to be the open space easement. I was just thinking that might be cleaner, but
did the abutters, do you know if they have markers by chance?
I don't think they do. Not that I know of. I know I was on the next door property.
I don't know when those were developed. I mean, how long is that we had that ordinance? It's
Oh, yeah, when it used to be more common that they would just put tree tags on, or pressure treated posts. And so I don't know when the other houses were built, but it was approved in 1990. So it's been a while. I don't know if at that time if they were really doing the markers.
Yeah,
But you would think
current-
for an open space easement they would, like, usually a conservation easement will be marked, but
It
yeah.
was only like 13 years before that.
right, that's true. And, yeah,
Went into play.
that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. So there's that to sort of ponder. I don't know if you want me to say the other thing that I was thinking as a condition, but or do you want to decide on the markers?
Well, what's your other idea?
My other thought that I've discussed with the really everyone involved with the project. I wrote to the property owner and the builder and the soil scientist to point out that there is an abundance of invasive plants on the property, and some of the more obnoxious ones like Japanese barberry, that's really nasty, and for a property owner it's good to be aware of it because you just end up with like the population density of ticks with barberry there's like this crazy correlation, but also tons of bittersweet and buckthorn. So I mentioned this to all the parties involved with this site and suggested that just an invasive plant removal plan be developed, and the soil scientist offered that he could provide just a basic plan so the property owner at least has that awareness and maybe not be as heavy-handed as require a certain outcome, but more so that the property owner is aware and is going to work on it, because actually that just because I wanted to see it. I walked back to Watchdog Brook. It was really nice back there. There's lots of different ferns, native ferns, in the floodplain. So you hate to, as you open up the site, you encourage the invasives to travel further back. And
Were they in the wetland itself or primarily in the upland area?
yeah, they were
Both?
definitely in the upland review area. I'm trying to think how far back into the wetland. I would say probably at least some within the wetland area. So, we'd want the plan to be a little sensitive to that, not just like broadcast spreading herbicide, but something more direct like cutting and painting stumps or something of that nature. But yeah, that was the only other thought I had out there was just it would be nice to try to keep that in check a little bit, but not have it go really wild. But it would definitely start invading their yard in no time if they're not trying to control it, because they've just gone pretty wild back there. It's really overgrown. But yeah, so that's all I have really. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a ton of grading, and they're keeping it really as close to the street as they can. It's a pretty
And this is the last lot on this?
there's another one that's not built yet. I want to say is it the one right next door? I know this one's built already, lot 13,
Yeah, you
but
did say there was one more.
yeah,
yeah.
I think lot 10's not built yet. Because
So that's kind of like where I was at, is like if it's the last lot and we seemingly, I don't say we like establish precedent, some of these houses go back quite a few years at this point. We,
Right.
like, kind of feel bad to like put requirements on them that nobody else to the right or left of them has, but
Right.
I mean, if there's two abutters still to be developed, then maybe there is an opportunity to just,
I think
address
there's just one. I think you mentioned
Yeah, I
that
think it's
last
just
that one.
I think it's just the one currently, and not. But yeah, and that's why I didn't want to make it too overbearing where there was some kind of reporting and outcome required. But it's more of a make sure the property owner, like, they know what they're looking for and has some ability to combat them. It's more, I think, I see it more
if you
educational.
share that tick thing too. That's like
Yeah.
benefit them.
I did mention that because, no, and the barberry is you just get snagged constantly in it. But yeah, that's what I thought. Just a basic, like, if their soil scientists could provide just some basic tips on those, like, 3 main invasives on how to control them, and something that hopefully the property owner might take an interest in. But yeah, I wasn't seeing it as something where we'd want to, have any ongoing reporting or anything like that. We did on that Pond Circle one something similar. Not Pond Circle. What was it? What was I in that? But anyway, there was a recent one right on a water body that was full of invasives that we just had the property owner submit, like, what kind of herbicide they were going to use and kind of naming those plants, just so they had that
We know
awareness.
they were thinking of
Yeah, just to put that little seed in their brain. Of,
no pun intended.
right. Yeah.
Is there tree clearing involved with this development or no?
Well, at this point, yeah, the whole site is, like, really grown in. I mean, a lot of it's brush, but there's trees too.
So
There was some huge
how
pines
far,
in back.
how far back do you
The silt fence will be the limit of clearing.
okay. So trees would remain like in here, but potentially invasives and stuff would be weeded out.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, they shouldn't be doing the developer, the builder shouldn't be touching anything beyond the silt fence. But then, unless they're helping the property owner with cutting invasives, that sort of thing. But yeah, they shouldn't be clearing any trees back there.
Can they put markers on the trees?
And that could be an option too if you,
I mean, they don't last.
yeah, right, they eventually come down, yeah.
And the trees, especially I feel like in the wetlands, like they're prone to dying. And,
Right. I mean, you can, sometimes we've been really specific about them at like, put them at specific spots but our standards do,
Is there any concern for putting monuments in the flood zone?
let's see, where do we overlap?
I mean, I don't know how accurate that line is, but
I know.
we're potentially talking about
Yeah, I'm really,
markers being within the 100-year flood zone, right?
I am really confused about that flood line, because they're saying it's this, right? I'm very
That's what
confused
they're
by it.
saying. It doesn't.
It
seem
doesn't
to
at all
up
match
with that.
that. Yeah. So unless I can check and see if the final version of this had all of a sudden a much different line, but I didn't pick that up before, that does not match.
So they got the line going around this swale.
Yeah.
down here.
So this is within the flood zone.
Doesn't that strike you as odd? From a
Yeah.
construction standpoint, wouldn't you want the alpha above the flood limit? Seeming how that's when you're going to need it the most.
Right. And then on this one, yeah, I'm very confused by that line. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. But yeah, so that could be another option. I had mentioned, well, let's see, the open space easements here. So like there's too many different types of dashed lines. And then this is theoretically the flood line, but
Yeah.
I don't
a lot
see-
going on there.
yeah. I mean, I don't think that, the size of the posts we're talking about would be terribly intrusive, but we could make sure it doesn't conflict with
I
zoning.
mean, they should like withstand flooding, right? It's not like they're going to get washed away.
Right, yeah, we have them put them at least, let's see, I grabbed one of them. Okay, so here's our typical standard. So we provide the actual markers, and then they permanently fix them to posts at least 4 inches of width or diameter, constructed of a durable material, specifically stone or concrete. In limited scenarios, the commission may approve use of poured-in-place concrete posts or metal pipe filled with concrete, like the lolly columns. It is unacceptable to set wooden posts as permanent boundary monuments. And then they have to be installed to a minimum depth of 2 feet below grade and 2 feet above grade.
Okay.
Sometimes we've allowed lower monuments if it's a farmed area. And then they're supposed to be every 30 feet when it's a curved or a regular line, or every 50 feet along straight line segments and at each corner or turning point. So that's where I was trying to find like a less, because there would just be so many markers if they did
Yeah.
every turning point.
Yeah.
But yeah. So initially the open space easement was what jumped out to me as an option, but it's obviously inaccurate in terms of a wetland boundary. There's like this large gap there that's not actually wetland, but is in the open space easement. So possibly just hitting the major points as long as they're no more than 50 feet apart, maybe, and then, just sticking.
I mean, that could work too, yeah. This is not necessarily something we can run by them before
Right.
react on it, right?
They'd probably rather it be approved and then they could always come back to you later to modify it if they're really disturbed by it. But I did write to them, I believe that was just yesterday, with those thoughts on both the monuments and the invasive plan. And the only feedback I got was from the soil scientist about the invasives.
Yeah.
So no one cried out about the markers. I sent them this standard also. I attached that. But so hopefully they're not terribly bothered by it. But I could offer to them, either following the open space easement or or kind of making a straight line that encompasses the wetland if they don't want to put
Yeah,
so many.
I mean, I think either one of those works. I think,
Yeah.
if there is another lot to be developed next door too, I kind of feel like it would be good to do something here and then continue that when the time comes for this other
Yeah.
lot,
Just to give someone pause in the future if they're
Yeah.
heading out back to dump a bunch of
Yeah.
material. And,
Invasive?
oh wait, right,
I mean, there's three reasons, right? The flood zone, the
right.
conservation easement, and the wetlands.
Yeah. I know, and it's not typical that we have conservation easements on new subdivisions, so this is kind of a legacy one, where we don't have monuments for the easement, and the developer didn't think there were markers on the other lots.
Yeah.
But nowadays, we probably want, have the whole thing marked all at once. That's what we did on like the King and Bradley subdivision. We had them do the wetland markers through the whole subdivision.
On the trees.
There was a combination. Some are on the trees and some are posts. We kind of let them. That was like right before we had made these requirements, but then they
there's
came
one.
back for like a modification and yeah.
Yeah, I think there's one tree left with a sign on it.
Oh really? Oh my god. There are posts
They just
though.
fall off, I mean, they
Yeah.
just like any other sign, right?
Yeah, the posts are nice because on that one they like epoxied the
Did they?
tags onto the posts, but yeah, it's like a combination. I have a big master plan of that one with the agreed upon, like what would be on trees and what would be on posts, but yeah, it's true. The trees come down or the tags fall off, or
Yeah.
but yeah. So
All right. So we have some potential conditions to consider, but does somebody want to make a motion on application 818?
That's a hard one.
not everybody else.
I know. I'll let Sydney do it.
I think a lot of eyes are looking over.
I'll
the city.
try.
No
She
pressure.
does good.
Motion to approve application A18, 75 Brittany Lane, vegetation removal and minor grading for home construction per prior subdivision approval expired, with the condition that markers will either be placed every
50 feet.
Maybe, we could keep it as simple as just that permanent wetland boundary markers be set.
Every 50 feet.
Yeah, it's kind of a choose your own adventure of whether they want to, I guess our discussion could kind of
Yeah.
give them that leeway of whether they want to just make a straight line or follow the wavy line, but
So can we say like as agreed upon between the inland wetland agent and the applicant,
yeah, you could say that. Yeah.
just to leave some flexibility in what the final product is?
Yeah.
all that. And and you'll also provide them
Or they'll,
with an invasive, they'll provide
yeah.
us with an invasive species removal plan
yes.
that won't necessarily have a timeline, but
Right.
yeah, I'll put everything that. Based on the following. The commission finds that the applicant submitted all necessary application materials pursuant to section 211-7 of the wetlands regulations, including but not limited to section 211-7E5, alternatives considered and rejected. The commission did not find the proposed activity significant, and the commission finds that the criteria set forth in section 211-10B have been met by the applicant.
Go ahead.
Everybody second?
I'll second.
What am I even seconding?
Any further discussion?
It's got to be good. You did.
Yeah.
Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. No new business.
That's good.
I know, I don't want to jinx things for next week. What could happen?
No audience participation. Moving on to the staff report.
All right, I feel like I have too many notes here, but, all right, I don't think we talked about 61 Twinbrook much, maybe once, but There was a new house built at the end of Twin Brook, and no wetland permit was needed. There was a area I suspected to be wetlands just off property, and so I had discussed with the builder / owner about that, and they put together a plan that kept over 100 feet separation between that suspected area and disturbance, and all was fine until they finished the site. I reviewed the as-built, which didn't have a lot of detail on it. I went out to the site because the as-built did show 3 retaining walls that were never on the plan, and they each had a drain associated with them, and one of those drains was a good 10 feet off property, like went out, the outfall was like onto another property. Anyway, so we were discussing that. They were gonna cut that back, or actually abandon that one outfall. But then also, so I had them update the as-built, showing all of the footing drains and all of that, and they ended up putting the footing drain for the house down the embankment, not into the wetland, but within the 100-foot presumed upland review area. So anyway, since then, they cut that way back to before the upland review area, and seeded and strawed everything, and they took quick action. So I didn't issue them a notice of violation. It seemed like a contractor got carried away and just put the drain to the lowest point, which is typical. But anyway, so it's temporarily stabilized, but I had them post a bond so that I can go back out and confirm when it's fully stabilized and not an issue. But otherwise, it was really just that sending the drainage down the slope in a pipe was the problem. But anyway, sorry, that was a little complicated. But also on 144 Watchog, I guess it was put up for sale, so I had gotten a phone inquiry about it. But that also prompted me to follow up with the current landowner, because I still haven't closed that out and seen the planting done. So I thought, okay, now's a good time to close that out before the property transfers. And so I did hear back, and they were having their soil scientists back out to review it because it has grown in. I mean, maybe there was enough seed stock remaining. I don't know what's grown in, but supposedly there's a updated report coming from the soil scientists, but I haven't seen it yet. Let's see. There's a bunch of foundation replacements going on right now. A couple, 2 or 3 on Stone Crossing, and a few others. I thought they were kind of slowing down, but all of a sudden there's a big boom of foundation replacements. There's one on Linwood that has wetlands adjacent to it, so I've been back and forth with the contractor working on erosion controls, beefing those up a little bit. And then, let's see. We discussed at one point an old subdivision. It was just carving a lot off of another on Turnpike. So the resulting lot 116 Turnpike, I had checked with the town attorney. I checked in with him a couple times to make sure that my following of the crazy flow chart and legislative updates that extended certain wetland permits of certain dates meant that this permit was still valid, and ultimately the town attorney confirmed it is still valid. The property was being sold, and the realtors and the prospective owners wanted to make sure the wetland permit was still valid. So basically, it's going to be a long driveway following along a wetland and a brook, and the house will be up out of the upland review area. But we also, I think they must have gone in and started cutting trees because a neighbor and a butter called asking what was going on there. But
And neighbors.
yeah, I know. But at least they do have a wetland permit.
Nosy.
And those wetland permits go with the land, so it's okay that it's not the original applicant. But I just wanted to make sure all those things were true. And then, let's see, lastly, another property up for sale that someone had inquired about on the corner of Billings, or actually, this one's on Billings, 527 Billings. There's some encroachment from a neighboring property onto that property, and it caught my eye because it looks like that encroachment is within wetlands, and that there's also maybe wetland filling on the adjacent lot. So it's something I'm just starting to research and look into. There's some history of wetland permits being approved on the adjacent lot, but I'm not sure if it's to the extent, it was before my time, and I'm trying to suss out whether it's gone further than was approved by the commission, because in recent years it appears there's been a lot more activity. This is 330 South Road. But, so, let's see, I have
527 Billings is what you said? It's a house for sale?
yeah.
Existing house, right?
Yes, that's an existing house. And then it seems as though, and the GIS isn't 100% accurate, you know, it's not like an A2 survey, but it seems like there's been encroachment from 330 South Road onto that property, and I believe within wetlands. So it might be a little bit of an interesting situation, but I'm guessing I might have to issue a notice of violation, but I want to make sure first, because there has been a history of wetland permitting, but before my time, and I have to go through those flow charts. Those likely would be expired, but I think it maybe has gone further than what was approved. But I'll just show you a little picture to show what I mean. Well, this is a subdivision plan, but on this one you can see this swath of wetlands through the corner, and this this is a lot going on this plan, but the lot on top is 330 South Road. That's parcel B, and so this wetland area back there have been some wetland permits approved, but I've got, I didn't write the dates of what these aerials were, but a prior aerial where there's really not a whole lot going on in that wetland and not encroachment on property, and then a later aerial that seems to have encroachment, and I don't know if that's millings or what. But some kind of fill.
Cement pad.
Yeah. So that just came up, so I'm just starting to research it, but it seems like it's just been the last several years it's kind of escalated.
At least it's
Anyway,
not on Watchog.
right?
Thank God. Watchdog needs a break.
Yeah, there had been one.
Actually, I do have a Watchdog topic when you're done.
Oh
with
yeah.
that.
Oh, goodness.
And there had been a wetland permit. Oh no, Sydney. There had been a wetland permit for a crossing of the wetland at one point years back, and for some temporary construction equipment. It sounded like, but I think it's probably a little past what was approved at this point. But I think that's all. Oh, and otherwise today was the sanitarian, Andrea's last day here full time. She's gonna just serve as needed, hourly.
What?
Yeah, she gave her notice. So, yeah, today was her last day.
Okay. So how do you, I mean, we're like gonna look to.
They did,
hire-
yeah, they posted the job a couple weeks ago, and it didn't sound like they had many qualified applicants until very recently. There's one that's more promising than.
Yeah, you need a full-time person, right?
Yeah.
So starting salary.
What is the job?
A sanitarian.
Sure.
Sanitarian, huh?
It's a good question.
Tough time to vacate that position, huh?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in town.
Yeah. So the director of public health, which is kind of, I think, more of a stipend position. The person serving that role is going to help. I think one day a week we'll do inspections and look at test
It's not
kits.
still Segul, is it? Do you know who it is?
It's is it Melissa? It's a woman.
Okay. It was Dr. Segul for a long
Oh
time.
yeah, no, it's not
Oh,
anymore.
I was gonna say because I can picture
Yeah.
doing inspections.
Okay.
He's like
Yeah.
retired twice over, I think.
Yeah.
We have to accept your report, right?
Yeah, I think you usually do.
Yeah. I'll make a motion, we accept the Wanners report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Who's
I was
seconded?
going to bring up my
Or Dan.
Dan second. I was going to bring up my two topics as part of the staff
Oh,
report,
yeah.
if that's appropriate. But
Oh, it's part of the staff report, sorry.
so I just had a follow-up question on 144 Watchog, which is you were talking about the plantings. Do we know? And if you don't, maybe as part of the follow-up you could ask. But the other piece I think was, I don't know if it was wood chips or whatever, but there's some kind of stabilization of the base of that slope where all the fill was kind of pushed
Yeah.
down. I don't know if that ever
I
happened
believe
either.
wood chips. I believe it was done, but I'd like to take another look at it.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay.
And then right next door, essentially, at the Jarmark Airport hangar.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up, because I don't know if they're getting ready to kind of do like final grading and seeding or sod or what the plan is for restoration, but the whole front is now disturbed. All the silt fencing is gone, literally right up to the edge of the road. Is
And
all
that just happened today, it seems.
I think so,
Yeah.
yeah. Looked like there was some grading being done to try to manage some of the runoff issue that we've been talking about, but I don't know what they can do right now. I don't know if they're just going to like overseed it. Obviously, seed's not going to probably take too well this time of the year, but
Yeah.
I just want to bring that to your attention so that maybe you could check in with them. And
Yeah, so I did. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you. I did send off an email. I'm not sure if I can get on my email here to see if they responded, but I did send a note saying, you know, especially we're supposed to get thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon, so I mentioned that and that whatever they do, like it needs to be temporarily stabilized. The hydro seed actually worked really well last time, so whether they could just re-hydro seed it, or if not, seed it, mulch it, or install straw wattles. I mean, if they're just seeding it, then they'll need some other measure like straw wattles or something. But yeah, it's strange that they removed the silt fence and then disturbed.
I think they needed to like regrade it. It looked like they
Yeah.
were like bringing the grade down. So I don't know. You know, I don't
Might be
think
back
they've
up by
done
the
so.
time you go by tonight.
Right. I know. I wrote not knowing if that was still the condition, but I said as of this morning, you
Yeah.
know. So I'm not sure if they hadn't responded by the time I came down here, but I had just emailed this afternoon.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'll follow up with that. Okay.
All right, on to correspondence and bills.
Okay, so actually today I just got the JI bill for $55.09. I guess I should say the Hearst Media Group bill. That's
I
now-
move that we pay the bill.
Elise made the motion. Somebody
I'll
second.
second it.
Cindy seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And then correspondence, I did get 2 notifications of herbicide treatment. One we've been aware of at Shady Lake, but they're kind of letting me know.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Yeah.
You're doing it?
Yeah, we're cleaning it up. We all have to pay.
Nothing's free.
Nothing is free.
And we have been notified of the permit from Connecticut Deep and all that, so they're just notifying us that they would be doing a treatment. It's probably happened now because they said June 27th. And then also from the town that to inform you of, let's see. Oh, I see. From Eversource. I guess I forwarded this today from Public Works, but a letter from Eversource to inform you of the scheduled maintenance activities on selected electric rights-of-way in your town in 2025. They'll be performing vegetation management work within the cleared areas of the right-of-way through the selective application of approved herbicides. And they talk about how they're federally approved, state registered herbicides. Residents abutting the right-of-way will be notified by the contractor. All personnel involved will carry proper identification. And then it says in wetlands locations, we have received the approval of Connecticut Deep to apply herbicides that are approved for use in wetland areas by Deep and EPA. And herbicide application is allowed in areas where there's no standing water. And then they attach this map showing the kind of linear path of treatment. But yeah, that's all my correspondence.
Right over my house.
Nice. You're on Northwest.
Yeah.
Oh, he's wanting me to restart. Snooze.
You spraying it with the helicopters?
Is that what they're doing? Spraying?
I think they're on. I saw them on foot in front of my parents' house. I don't know.
Okay.
They have done it with helicopters before. Maybe some of the harder to reach areas.
Yeah.
They're pushing it quite a ways back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they cut all those trees at the end of my parents' driveway, and they said they were actually going to come back and
Do more?
no, they're going to plant some
Oh,
Wow.
stuff. I don't know what they have
Okay.
like a list of approved stuff. I don't know if it's like because it is essentially wetlands. I think.
yeah. So hopefully they're choosing suitable
Yeah.
things.
Wow, they're actually going to like plant something for it. That's shocking.
Yeah.
They said they were going to. We'll see.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I know that there was a neighbor down the end of our road. There was an apple tree. They were going to cut it, and he convinced them not to
So you
cut
go
it.
out and hug it.
Power
They'll work
persistence.
with you if you go out there and beg, I guess.
It's like not this one tree. So the apple tree's not going to be that tall.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, we don't approve correspondence.
No.
Right? All right. Moving on to minutes approval.
There was just one thing that I noticed on the prior minutes approval that we had Candace both approve and second them.
Right.
So we need to make sure that Candace made the motion to approve, and then
And
Liesl-
Lise seconded.
Okay. That was the one thing I noticed.
That was the only thing I found on there.
And what was it? It was of the minutes, right? Yeah. Okay.
minutes approval.
So I guess we moved to approve as changed. The
Yeah.
minutes as changed, yeah. Go ahead, second.
Second? Dan seconds.
I was just thinking, well,
I'll get it right
oh,
this
you did
time.
Motion carries. I'm assuming you're in favor. All right.
I move we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Anybody second?
that. I second.
So looking at you,
Okay.
Dan. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Have a good holiday.